So a few weeks ago, I received a fan theory for Black Ops 6 and Black Ops 1, and I thought it was one of the best fan theories that I have ever read. Now, this theory comes from Tamaric Polinice, and his YouTube is linked down below. He is a friend of the channel. He's commented before. We know him as T-Poly, and he's a really solid dude, and he sent me this theory, and I thought it was incredible. Now, his theory talks about Nikita Dragovich, Alex Mason, and Pantheon. Those are the three main people, or the three main focal points of his theory. Now, before we get started, Major General Nikita Dragovich was a Soviet military commanding officer who was responsible for the creation of Project Nova. Dragovich also was responsible for the Numbers program, which brainwashed Mason into becoming a sleeper agent. This is basically what is stated in Nikita Dragovich's file. He was an extremely dangerous terrorist. Now, Alex Mason, according to his bio, he was a CIA operative and a retired Marine Force Recon captain. We know who he is. We know his story 100%. And Pantheon is an international paramilitary terrorist organization that was a top secret division of the CIA before it was disbanded for its bioweapons program. But the Pantheon has been acting and had their hands in a lot of major wars to create chaos so they can continue to grow and work in the shadows. So that's what we basically know. That's from Black Ops 1 all the way to Black Ops 6. Now, we know that there's been a popular theory for years now that Alex Mason was brainwashed by Nikita Dragovich to kill President John F. Kennedy back in 1963 due to this interaction right here.
Like a Mason kill my own president. Right?
The way Nikita Dragovich says that, he's basically casting doubt to Alex Mason, and he's casting doubt to us, the player. Like, did Alex Mason actually go through with it, but he doesn't remember? And then something that solidifies that doubt maybe that was created for us was this right here. It shows Alex Mason the day of the assassination of JFK, and you see him right there. And I mean, look, first of all, Alex Mason could have been there because he was working to protect the president. Who knows? And, right? And it was just all undercover. Or he was there most likely because he was going to assassinate the president. And so, all right, this theory came out many years ago. It was alluded to, and people have ran with it for well over a decade. Well, Tamaric says that he believes that Pantheon was actually responsible for the death of Alex Mason, not Nikita Dragovich. And he goes on to explain it in about a page or two. Now, I will be reading the full fan theory for you right now. This is Tamaric Polinice's words, and I quote, "In the Black Ops 1 story, it is alluded to and all but confirmed that Nikita Dragovich brainwashed Mason to kill Kennedy for whatever reason. This is the most believed version of the conspiracy, but personally, I think that Pantheon killed Kennedy, and here's how. In Black Ops 6, we saw Pantheon working with and aiding Saddam Hussein and his army during the Gulf War, showing us they are more than willing to help enemies of America. Not only that, but they also provided them with experimental weaponry and biological weapons, such as the Cradle and other secret experiments. So let's get started.
We've been in our shadow for years, all through Vietnam, Afghanistan, Russia.
First off, in this video, we hear Hudson say that Pantheon has been in the CIA shadow since the 1960s, and that they use war and chaos to hide their tracks. The biggest war around at the time was the Vietnam War, which a lot of people believed would have gone differently if President John F. Kennedy hadn't been assassinated. For one, JFK was more skeptical of military advisors in general, especially after the Bay of Pigs invasion. Secondly, there is a lot of evidence that he wanted to withdraw from Vietnam. In fact, he signed an order to withdraw 1,000 advisors, intending a full withdrawal by 1965, before he died. However, these plans were based on the assumption that South Vietnam could be trusted to take charge of its own defense. Third of all, in an interview on September 2nd, 1963, just 2 months before his death, Kennedy said this.
I don't think that unless a greater effort is made by the government to win popular support, that the war can be won out there. In the final analysis, it's their war. They're the ones who have to win it or lose it. We can help them. We can give them equipment. We can send our men out there as advisors, but they have to win it, the people of Vietnam, against the communists.
If this interview happened in the Black Ops universe, and we assume Nikita Dragovich saw it, JFK was basically saying that he was unlikely to send troops to Vietnam, unlike his vice president and successor, Lyndon B. Johnson. So it makes no sense for DRAGOVICH to have Kennedy killed, because what would the Soviet Union gain from it? If anything, his death caused more harm than good, as Lyndon B. Johnson escalated the war, sending more than 500,000 troops by the time he finished his second term as president. You could argue that if Kennedy wasn't assassinated and he had abstained from the war, South Vietnam would have fallen faster, and Soviet influence would have grown farther and once again faster. Now, here is where my theory begins. What I think happened is that Pantheon was working with DRAGOVICH. Pantheon, needing war and chaos to cover their tracks, tipped off Fidel Castro about the Bay of Pigs invasion. Mason would get captured, and then DRAGOVICH informed Pantheon that they now had Mason. Pantheon in turn provides DRAGOVICH with the equipment and information to conduct their own MK-Ultra experiments on different sleeper agents being used in the Project Nova plot. However, Alex Mason, being one of the CIA's best at the time, is given an important role: assassinating Kennedy. Since Pantheon had deep ties within the CIA, they knew Kennedy was hesitant about the Vietnam War and couldn't risk it. They needed a sure thing. Enter Lyndon B. Johnson. Pantheon orchestrated everything to help push the US into Vietnam. With the CIA preoccupied with the war, Pantheon could continue to move freely in the shadows. End quote. End theory. I think that's pretty badass if you ask me. I think that is a pretty badass theory. I mean, it makes sense. Honestly, if you look at the time in the 60s and what was going on, and if you compare our real world history to the history of Black Ops and Black Ops 1 specifically, then yes, this thing could have made sense. This thing could have 100% have been there. And I like the theory. It connects Black Ops 1 to Black Ops 6 even more, and the only thing that would make this theory even better was if we actually got confirmation that this was true, or something like this was true. It makes sense that Pantheon would want the war. It makes sense that Pantheon would have escalated things to continue to work in the shadows, to continue to expand their organization, their terrorist organization, and continue to infiltrate different things, so they could be everywhere, so they could grow and their influence can grow. And they didn't really care about people dying or their people dying, because they were just this freaking crazy group. And them being in cahoots with Nikita DRAGOVICH makes a lot of sense as well. Hell, it almost felt like Pantheon could have or would have manipulated DRAGOVICH in some way, maybe even had the upper hand on DRAGOVICH, which makes them even that much more dangerous. These are the type of things that I wish could have gotten expanded on in Black Ops 6. I mean, Pantheon, yes, we know they're there, we hear about them, but we don't really know too much about it. And this theory by T. Polly was really good. I really enjoyed it. I don't come up with a lot of theories on the channel. At least I don't think I do. We do have some theory videos, but I don't think they're like all that great. I also don't read too many fan theories, but this one was sent to me a few weeks ago, and I've been wanting to get a video on it. I just wasn't able to for one reason or another. But as soon as I read this, I just lit up. I thought it made a lot of sense, and I really, really liked it. You guys can tell me in the comments what you think about T. Polly's theory. So yeah, that's basically what I have for you guys today. T. Polly, bro, Tariq, thank you so much for the theory. Let me know down in the comments anything else you would like to add.